Question: what's the theme for International Women's Day in 2023? You could be forgiven for being a little confused looking at the annual roster of events, panel talks, initiatives, and Instagram posts that mark the International Day for Championing Gender Equality, because there are two themes floating around. Is your workplace using the Cracking the Code theme or EmbraceEquity? And for that matter, why are there two themes and why are they so different? It's an example of what happens when we allow important movements to be turned into corporate commercial opportunities. To understand what's really going on here, let's start in a place of certainty. The United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, aka UN Women, is the international organisation most would recognise as the main coordinator of advocacy for global gender equality. UN Women officially recognised International Women's Day in 1977, establishing a set date and turning what had been a collection of grassroots feminist movements into one global mainstream event. In 2023, the UN Women's theme for International Women's Day is Digit All, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. While the UN Women's Australia organisation expresses it slightly differently, using Cracking the Code, Innovation for a Gender Equal Future, the intent of the theme is clear. As digital technologies contribute to gender biases and widen economic and social inequalities for women, achieving a gender equal world in the future requires including women and other marginalised groups in the development of tech now. That's all well and good, but why are you seeing EmbraceEquity used as the International Women's Day theme in so many social media and corporate spaces? That is the 2023 theme of internationalwomensday.com, a website that appears in the top position when you search International Women's Day on Google. There is no organisation listed on the website itself, but someone is behind it, and we'll get to that in a moment. On this website, the elaboration of the EmbraceEquity theme says that equity isn't just a nice to have, it's a must have. A focus on gender equity needs to be part of every society's DNA. The site's full explanation of its theme is 400 odd words worth of empty platitudes like being included and belonging feels good, and ends with the dictionary definition of the word embrace. Usually with these global days of action, one international organisation will take the lead by setting a focus or theme, and others will follow suit by interpreting that overarching theme in a way that makes sense for them. But as you can tell, the themes for UN Women's and the internationalwomensday.com are very different, and this has consistently been the case. Compare the past few years. In 2022, UN Women's ran with Changing Climates, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, and IWD.com ran #BreakTheBias. In 2021, UN Women's had Women in Leadership, Achieving Equality in a COVID-19 World, and IWD.com had #ChooseToChallenge. In 2020, UN Women's had I Am Generation Equality, Realising Women's Rights. IWD.com had #EachForEqual. And in 2019, UN Women's had Think Equal, Build Smart, Innovate for Change, while IWD.com had #BalanceForBetter. So who actually owns the IWD.com website, and why do they run their own themes? The website itself makes no clear references as to who owns or operates the website. It does list 21 companies as partners for 2023, which is fewer than the 32 companies they listed as partners last year, and also names 3 charities of choice. It does not indicate whether or how it supports those charities, but does include links for you to donate to the charities yourself.
That's not how any of this works.
In 2020, the Sydney Morning Herald reported that a company called Aurora Ventures appeared to be behind the website. Aurora Ventures is a consulting agency that says it is focused on social and economic change, working with companies on campaigns and collaborations to platforms and products. The internationalwomensday.com website is listed as one of its projects. The company was founded in 2000, and internationalwomensday.com was first registered in 2001. Health advocate Christine McNabb also reported that Aurora itself appeared on the internationalwomensday.com website as early as 2003 as Aurora Gender Capital Management. So while this kind of solves the mystery, there is a much bigger question we should be asking here.
I would have made millions if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
The internationalwomensday.com and Aurora Ventures websites both say their purpose is to support the supporters who are driving social change and equality for women. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's an admirable mission, and the more voices we have collectively calling out inequality and injustice, the better. Their focus is clearly on the corporate sector, and again, there is nothing wrong with that. However, we should be critical of the dominance of corporate campaigns that drown out the more specific and inclusive discussions that take place under the UN Women's theme. The latter isn't as catchy, but it directs us to take actions that benefit all women, not only those working jobs in established economies. The contrasting themes of 2022 actually illustrate this best. When it comes to the most vulnerable women in the world, which issue is likely to be the most pressing? Workplace bias due to their gender, or the climate crisis? We should also question why the corporate sector even needs a separate theme. Vague calls to action like breaking biases and embracing equity are easy setups for big corporations to point to their own initiatives as proof that they're making a difference. On the other hand, the specificity of the themes UN Women ask us to focus on each year are more challenging for profit-based businesses to meaningfully address. Like every important social justice issue, the origins of International Women's Day is in grassroots activism. UN Women acknowledges this by recapping the history of the movement. On the other hand, InternationalWomen'sDay.com insists that no one owns the day. It's true, no one owns International Women's Day, but turning political and liberation movements into corporate, commercial opportunities often ends up distracting from the cause, like brands that participate in pinkwashing during Mardi Gras and Pride Month, while letting other things slide, like governments attempting to legalize discrimination against trans people. By pushing a separate theme and campaign, InternationalWomen'sDay.com draws attention away from the UN Women's work and more inclusive themes, which could be seen as going against its own mission to support the supporters of gender equality.